Man, get up here in the Zoloft and get your head right.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Zoloft. Hey, don't give me this donkey dropping nonsense about Roe v. Wade being overturned. The Constitution itself was overturned when we made it legal to deprive another human being of their right to live without due process of law. The law, man. You know, it used to be the law that women couldn't vote. Aren't you glad we rectified that perverted interpretation of the Constitution that denied women the right to vote? Sadly and ironically enough, women took what they always had a constitutional right to vote perversely with it. That's right, I'm talking to you, poly pervert. Miss I Am Woman, hear me roar. I can do whatever a man can do in heels. I am strong, I am invincible. Oh my God, is this a baby? Kill it! It's like a prenatal kid is kryptonite to this culture of so-called superwomen. You know, I've said for a long time that I think it's weird that these feminists think that it's more empowering to kill a kid than to raise one. Yo, I assure you, it takes and shows a lot more power to raise a kid than to kill one. And if you really want to show some power, be a husband and wife before causing a pregnancy. Ain't that right, Alyssa Milano? Well, she almost had it right. But unfortunately, her motives are all wrong. Blinded by how spoiled rotten she is, she does not see the irony of what she's saying. And them glasses ain't helping her see the truth at all, y'all. If we can't have abortions, we're not gonna have sex. Okay. Y'all, I'll remind you that Alyssa Milano is a Hollywood liberal. Her profession is make-believe. Hollywood is an industry of make-believe. And too many, like Alyssa Milano, don't know when to clock out. That's why you can have these nuts insisting that abortion is a constitutional right. A liberal can tell us that forbiddance of abortion ain't in the Bible when it is, and turn around and tell us that allowance of abortion is in the Constitution when it ain't. Make-believe. These are the same people who can see a man as a woman or a woman as a man, or men and women as 37 other different genders. I think that was the last count. Where did these other genders come from? Make-believe. They can see tofu as a turkey. They can see cigarette smoke is bad for you, but somehow magically marijuana smoke isn't. Plastic straws are bad, but paper straws wrapped in plastic is good. Your money is their money. Going doo-doo on the street should be lawful, but a nativity scene should be outlawed. I can go on, but I think you get the point. Yeah, so I think you had us at going doo-doo on the sidewalk. These people either see things that aren't there or don't see things that are, or just see things totally flipping backwards. And all that is how they view the Constitution. If and they ever viewed that thing at all. But they claim that this is their truth. Hey, let me tell you a little something about your truth. Your truth is lying to you. Now, y'all, I understand that reasoning with the liberals seems about as pointless as explaining calculus to a donut. They typically don't register reason, but we still gotta try. Sometimes we get lucky. Remember, I used to believe that liberal stuff too. But y'all, I wanna talk about something else that's really scary and disappointing. It's when you have supposedly well-reasoned conservatives rejecting the overturning of Roe v. Wade because they view it as government involvement. And this encroaches on a woman's right to choose. I think Tomi Lahren is among these, which is sad because I like Tomi Lahren. She's graciously had me on her show a couple of times. But y'all check this out. This is an example of what happens when you idolize liberty. I hope y'all pick up a copy of my book, A Solid Right Cross, to get some insight into this. This has a bad result, y'all. You can see it with people who idolize the earth. It results in environmental wackos and oppressive green policies, don't it? Basically, things start going south when people worship the creation over the creator. The same thing happens with liberty. When people idolize liberty over the author of liberty, a perversion of liberty results, and oppression and murder follows. How so? Because liberty comes to be taken as the so-called liberty to deny another person of theirs. This is the wavelength that conservative-leaning people like Tomi Lahren are on. You can claim to be a Christian all you want, but this is a prime example of why God says, don't take my name in vain. Don't be justifying sinning against me or somebody else or legislating sin and invoking my name to do it. The Lord himself said to people who claim to be all about Jesus, Jesus. Yo, you need to back up off me. I don't know you, you doers of lawlessness. If you are among those who claim to be a Christian while saying abortion should be legal, then I say to you assuredly that Jesus will be looking at you sideways and shaking his head saying, I don't know you. And don't you even try to say that I don't know what Jesus would say when you're the one assuming that Jesus would be okay with what you're doing. Only God can judge me. What I repeated to you is written in blood, spilled by prophets, judges, apostles, and the high priest and king himself. Where's your proof about your claim of what Jesus would say? Now, let Uncle Zoe explain a little something to y'all about limited government. The government is supposed to be involved to protect persons from a party that wants to deprive them of their God-given rights without due process of law. And I say to you assuredly that the government's worst offense of getting involved was making abortion legal. Because now the government has been given power to protect the so-called right of a person who wants to deprive another person of their right to live against the supreme law of the land. You support our government having the power to be constitutional heretics. The role of our government is to protect our God-given right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and property. They are supposed to be involved in that, to prevent and or punish those who would infringe upon our God-given rights. That ain't at all inconsistent with limited government. The government involving itself with bureaucracies to make murder legal is inconsistent with limited government. Remember, y'all, when people sin against somebody else, they justify it to themselves as they do it. And it's no different in the case of abortion. People make all kinds of justifications to sin against that prenatal kid. That sin being imposing the death penalty on that kid for what somebody else did. Basically, there's no excuse to make murder legal, dang it. Look here, y'all. Whenever somebody commits murder, they have to disregard the victim's humanity as they do it. If liberty to you means having the government's protection to murder a kid, then I say to you assuredly that you have a perverted view of what liberty is. And putting a premium on liberty over the author of liberty is why we're returning to those days when people would birth babies and kill them. You can't use the womb as an excuse anymore. And we could face a war over this. And if there should be a war, and if we're here 50 years after that, I say to you assuredly that you will have people saying the same foolish thing about the war against abortion as you have people saying about the war against slavery. The war wasn't about slavery, it was about states' rights. Oh, you mean kind of like how the war won't be about abortion or infanticide, it'll be about women's rights. I'm sure you've heard it too. Abortion is something that should be decided in the individual states. See, these liberty zealots don't seem to understand that a woman or a state doesn't have the right to deprive another person of their God-given right against the supreme law of the land. These are issues that aren't even supposed to be heard in court if jurisprudence had any prudence at all. And the chief law enforcement officer of the United States is supposed to enforce the supreme law of the land first. And if laws are made that contradict the supreme law of the land, the president is not obliged to enforce or endorse those. And that's where you need a president who chooses Christ-led discernment to know good law from bad. Lastly, this thing about outlawing abortion causing back-alley abortions. You mean to tell me that the murder rate would decrease if we made murder legal? But anyway, y'all, as far as back-alley abortions go, that has nothing to do with the law. If a female is so deeply determined to destroy her baby that she'll risk destroying herself to do it, then I say to you assuredly that has nothing to do with the law. It has everything to do with that female being emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually compromised. And don't give me your excuse about rape or incest. That's a minority instance that you cowardly feminists use to target all kids for abortion out of convenience. You just don't trust women. No, I don't trust anybody who thinks that the answer to their problems is murder. Yeah, so I think you had us at going doo-doo on the sidewalk.